sing. Here we go. There's a call comes ringing o'er the restless way. Send the line, send the line. There are souls to rescue, there are souls to save. Send the line, oh send the line, send the light. The blessed gospel light, let it shine from shore to shore. Send the light, the blessed gospel light, let it shine forevermore. Now we have heard the Macedonian call today. Send the light, oh send the light. And the golden offering at the cross we lay. Send the light, oh send the light, send the light, the blessed gospel light, let it shine from shore to shore. Send the light, the blessed gospel light, let it shine forever. Let us not grow weary in the work of love. Send the light, oh send the light. Let us gather jewels for a crown above. Send the light, oh send the light. Send the light, the blessed gospel light. Let it shine from shore to shore. Send the light, the blessed gospel light. Let it shine forevermore.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our missions conference tonight. We'd ask Dr. John if you'd lead us in prayer this evening. Amen. You may be seated. For those of you who have never been to a Faith Promise Missions Conference, these are called Faith Promise cards. This is not a pledge. You are not putting your name on it. No one will go to your house to ask you for the money. This is a promise between you and God. You fill in one side and you keep it. You fill in the other side and you put it in the offering plate, or I'm going to put it in the offering bucket in the back. These will be collected on Sunday morning during the Sunday school time, the Sunday morning worship, and at the end of the service, we're going to announce what our promise is for the year. Now, last year we promised $3,600 a week, and I would pray that we would do better this year. I know we're in a COVID year, but it takes faith to make a promise, doesn't it? And you're not making a crazy promise that's without faith. It's saying, God, you've been good to me. You always take care of me. I'm making this promise. Bless me that I might be a blessing to the advancement of missions around the world. Now, our tithe, 10% of what we make, belongs to the Lord. We should be doing our tithe first and then making a promise to missions. The tithe is care for the local church ministry, local outreach, the care of this facility, our staff, our bus ministries, and all that we're doing here in Chickasha, in Grady County. But these promises are so that we can impact our world, so that we can make promises to missionary. We're going to support you every month and be faithful every month because God has been so good to us. And this is the way we express our love to God. If we love God and we appreciate what He's done for us, we cannot pay for our salvation because it's priceless. But I can say, Lord, thank you, and I love you by what I do in missions. The fact that you're here on a Wednesday night for a missions conference, I believe you have a burden for the world. If you didn't have a burden, you'd have probably ran away and say, I don't want them to touch my heart. Because every time missionaries come, they show the needs around the world, and my heart gets broken. And I wish I could be in 4 or 5 places at once, but I can only be in one place at a time. But through my promise giving, I can have a part of many ministries around the world. So I hope tonight you're excited. Brother Rick and Susie Bivens are here, our missionaries to Monterrey, Mexico, and they've been there for 40 years, but they've been our missionary for about 20 years. And Brother Bivens told me we've gone down there about 8 times, 8 or 9 times, maybe 10 times. People from this church have gone down. How many of you have been down to Monterrey, Mexico? Could you raise your hand nice and high? All right. I can see some of you around the building. All right. That's great. And I wish the door to Mexico was wide open so that we could go as soon as possible. But things have not been good for us to travel because of Corona and the cartels. Those seas are working against us. But there's still ways we can minister there. We're going to ask Brother Bivens to come and share a ministry report. Brother Kim calls it the stockholders report. And get our hearts excited about the investment that we've made in Monterrey.
Amen. Thank you. It's a real blessing to be here with you. Welcome to the conference, and thank you as a church and your pastor, Brother Steve, to allow us to be here, a part of your conference. This is wonderful. We love you guys. You've been a part of our ministry for many years, and Brother Kim's made several trips down there too to preach in some of our conferences without bringing a group, and then there are several times where we brought groups down as well. And you're going to see Brother Dave here on the video in just a moment, just working his little heart out. And so I hope that'll be a blessing to actually see him doing something. I love you. So we're going to show the video first, and then I'll briefly update you. And I don't want to take away any time from the preaching of God's Word, which is the most important. God bless you. Watch. We'll show the video now. We are Rick and Susie Biven, missionaries to Mexico, sent out by Trinity Baptist Church of Abilene, Texas. Our home church is First Baptist Church of Daleville, Indiana. We have been missionaries to Mexico since 1980 and have raised 4 sons on the mission field. Monterrey is the 3rd largest city in Mexico, with a population estimated in the metropolitan area over 11 million people. It is surrounded by the eastern Sierra Madre Mountains and is the industrial capital of the country. Mexico has a population over 110 million souls and is 95% Roman Catholic. Our main focus is to share the light of the gospel of Christ with those in spiritual darkness, to start local New Testament Baptist churches, and to train the nationals for the work of the ministry. Our main church is Trinity Baptist Church in Santa Catarina on the west side of Monterrey. It is pastored by Samuel Martinez. We have started 8 other works through this church, and these churches support several domestic and foreign missionaries. We have also sent missionary teams into Cuba and to several other regions of Mexico. There are currently 5 missionary couples out of these churches and several others preparing for ministry. And with our Bible college staff and students, we have helped establish another 14 works in several other states of Mexico. Other areas of ministry include discipleship, leadership training, junior and senior youth camps, and vacation Bible schools. Along with our involvement in the spiritual growth of the believers is the participation in the physical construction of the churches. In September 2001, we were called upon to assume the leadership of Ambassador Baptist Bible College. The school was founded in 1980 by the late J.W. Steele through what is now First Baptist Church of Meadowview in Mesquite, Texas. In 2007, we moved the school from its former location in Allende to the Palms Youth Camp. We have the standard 3-year graduate program and have added the BA and MA courses of study through Louisiana Baptist University and its InStep missionary program. The college continues to move forward with renewed vision, a dedicated staff, and an eager student body. Hundreds of young people have graduated from this school, and approximately 80% of them are in the ministry today as pastors, missionaries, and teachers. Over 50 churches have been started by the graduates of this school. At least 8 of our graduates are in the U.S. pastoring Hispanic works. Another avenue of help comes from the SEND groups, Sowing Evangelism Next Door, American church groups that come to evangelize and work on special projects. It is also a great opportunity for American Christian young people to capture greater vision for lost souls on foreign fields. 25 miles southeast of Monterey is the Palms 15-acre youth camp, which was purchased in March 2006. The possibilities for this camp and for Mexican youth are endless. It is also the Bible College's current location. In the future, as God leads and with your help, we could see hundreds of young people and married couples preparing for ministry. They are future spiritual leaders and church planters of Mexico. Graduation is the first big step in beginning their ministries. And like the Macedonian call, will you come over into Macedonia, into Mexico, and help us? How can you help this ministry? Pray. Participate in his future through responding to the need by asking God what he would have you to do. Your faithfulness will be our blessing. God bless you. Your missionaries to Mexico, Rick and Susie Biven.
To introduce my lovely wife, Susie, if you'd like to take a turn. And she just got this chair less than a week ago, and it's been a blessing to her. She's healing from a torn tendon in her right foot, and it's been a long process, so continue to pray for her if you would. You saw a lot of what our ministry is about there in that video, and we thank God for the blessings he's allowed us to be involved in. It's a privilege for us to have those opportunities to minister and to help train young people and young married couples for ministry, and to be involved in starting churches. And we're seeing third generations involved in this. We've been there so long, and we're even great grandparents now. It's unbelievable. But a lot of the kids down there, were grandma and grandpa, and so the churches are doing well. Even though they're having to do a lot of their services online, some people are getting saved through testimonies online, and then setting up appointments to where they can meet personally with the pastor or with some of our workers in the churches. We are highly involved in discipleship there, where we train our leaders, and our leaders are training lay people for soul winning, for visiting, for counseling, and all of those things. And so they have opportunities to meet with people that sometimes we don't, or sometimes our pastors don't. So they're involved with that. The school, we're having to start our first semester online too, through Zoom, and we finished our last 2 months of this past spring semester online as well. Couldn't do our graduation. We still haven't been able to do our graduation. Everything's shut down there in Mexico. So we're planning next May to do 2 graduations, the 2020 graduation and the 2021 graduation. So we'll see how that works. But we just received 2 days ago word from our director at our college, Brother Cedillo, that Brother Ephraim, he's a graduate from our college, and his brother was a pastor of a church there, got COVID, and he just passed away. They had his funeral this morning, had his coffin wrapped in saran wrap. That's what they're doing down there, just wrapping that coffin in plastic. And Ephraim is very ill in the hospital with COVID. A week and a half ago, he was at our college with our staff and our teachers, and we were doing a Zoom meeting so I could be there with them that way. And so now our staff and our teachers are in quarantine. They've got just less than a week to go. None of them have any symptoms. None of our people in our churches have had it, except for our pastor Samuel, who was tested positive, but he's never had any symptoms. He's never, and still doesn't. And it's been about a month. And so it may have been a false reading. We don't really know. But things are shut down very, very tight there. And so they've extended the closing of the borders till 22nd of October. So they may extend it again. They've already done that about 3 times. So we don't know when we're going to be able to go back. So we're going to try to do some furlough, while we can. We've had several meetings canceled, and so can't hardly do that, but we'll do what we can. And we thank you for allowing us to be in Mexico, and we appreciate your prayers also for us. God bless you. Thank you.
Amen. Yes, we have very much enjoyed going down there, and we miss that. We miss going and seeing y'all down there. So maybe someday we'll go eat a steak again. Amen. Amen. This is our mission theme song. Why don't you join with us as we sing? Every secret, every shame, every fear, every pain lives inside the dark, but that's not who we are. We are children of the day. So wake up, sleeper, lift your head. We were meant for more than this. Fight the shadows, conquer death. Make the most of the time we have left. We are the light of the world. We are the city on a hill. We are the light of the world. We gotta let the light shine. We are the light of the world. We are the city on a hill. We are the light of the world. We gotta let the light shine. Let the light shine. Let the light shine. We are called to spread the news, tell the world the simple truth. Jesus came to save. There's freedom in His name. So let His love break through. Sing it out now. We are the light of the world. We are a city on a hill. We are the light of the world. We gotta let the light shine. We are the light of the world. We are a city on a hill. We are the light of the world. And we gotta let the light shine. Let's do it.
If you're here tonight and you have not received a Faith Promise card, if you'll raise up your hand, we'll have one given to you. If you already have yours, I hope that you'll be praying about the gift that God would lay on your heart. If you're married, husbands and wives, please talk together and make it a promise of faith together, that when you're making this promise that you're asking God for the strength to do it this year, because we know with this COVID and people fearing death, this could be one of the greatest times to share hope with a world that is worried about dying. You know, we had Miguel Triano scheduled to fly in from Africa to be our keynote speaker for the conference, but because of COVID, All of the borders to Africa were closed down, so he could not fly out. In an emergency situation, we reached out to missionary Greg Lyons and said, are you still in the U.S.? Is there any way you could be here? He has an engagement on Sunday, but he's able to be with us Wednesday and Thursday. So what a joy that God has put him within reach so that he could be here. April is going to come and sing a special, and then Greg is going to come and preach the word. I pray that your heart is ready to receive the word.
Throw out the lifeline with hand quick and strong. If you're a Christian, why linger so long? See, he is sinking. Oh, why do you wait? Throw out the lifeline before it's too late. Throw out the lifeline. Throw out the lifeline. Someone is drifting away. Throw out the lifeline. Throw out the lifeline. Someone is sinking today. Throw out the lifeline across the dark place. There is a brother that someone should save. Somebody's brother, oh, who will be there? Throw out the lifeline, his peril to share. Throw out the lifeline, throw out the lifeline. Someone is drifting away. Throw out the lifeline, throw out the lifeline. Someone is sinking today. Throw out the lifeline, throw out the lifeline. Someone is drifting away. Throw out the lifeline, throw out the lifeline. Someone is sinking today.
It's certainly good to be here with you, and I am so honored that I was contacted and invited to be here. Even, you know, first time I've been introduced as the emergency speaker, you know, and but that's a new thing for me. I like that. I have created some emergencies, but I've never been an emergency speaker yet. But anyway, thank you for the privilege. The last time I was here, I got thrown off the stage. Isn't that right? You remember that, Brother Hayes? You know, he got me up here, asked me to give a testimony. I was giving away, and he walked up here, put his arm around me, and says, "Brother, we got another preacher. You need to get off the stage." It was right, and he said, "I'll have another chance. This is my shot," and I'm glad to be here. I want to thank you for partnering with us and help keeping us on the field there in Metro Manila, Philippines. And it's a blessing for me to have my wife with me. Luann, would you stand up? Yes, she writes all my material. There you go. Huh? We have 6 children, and we were able to announce a couple of years ago that we have survived 37 years of child rearing, you know. I mean, you have kids, 18 years, you figure they're going to go off. You stack them up 6 in a row, they stay with you a long time, But we finally married off the youngest one last November, and so we're kind of empty nesters, and one of my kids says, "Hey, we'd like to move back in," and I said, "Not on your life, no. We'll get you a hotel, and keep them going there." But it is a privilege to be with you, and you know what? I love being a missionary. I'm going to tell you that right up front. I don't tell everybody. It's a lot of fun being a missionary.
I'm not one of these missionaries that, went because God called me. I didn't really want to go. No, no, no. I was never a Jonah. When I came back from the mission field, because my father and mother are missionaries, and I came back to the States, I really didn't have a call in my heart. I was not opposed to it, but I wanted to go into business. I wanted to be the rich son that when my dad needed a building in Metro Manila and he needed a guy to write a $50,000 check, I wanted to be that guy. And so I came back with that in my mind and was going after that. And then, we moved from Metro Manila. Now, Manila is a huge city, top 10 cities of the world, most populated, 25 million people in Metro Manila, Philippines. 50,000 people every square mile. I mean, just count the number of miles drove to church tonight, multiply by 50,000. That's how many people you would have passed if you were in Metro Manila on the way to church. Now, I grew up in the city. I love the city. I'm not a jungle missionary, okay? I don't wear a pith helmet and live in a grass hut. I live in Manila. If I get like 30 miles away from a Starbucks, I could go into withdrawals, okay? I love concrete. I love to see the air I breathe. I was driving through Kansas. I don't know why anybody would, but I was driving through Kansas one time, and I was looking around. I says, man, what underdeveloped land. You could put condos in this place and fill this place up, And God wired me that way. And so when I came back to the States to go to college, I wanted to find a Christian wife. And my dad is from a little town in Iowa called Mark, Iowa. Anybody ever heard of Mark, Iowa? 35 people. That's where my dad was born, in the city of Mark, Iowa. My grandmother ran the switchboard. How many know what the switchboard is? You're old if you know what that is, okay? And my dad was born there, and so when we would come back on furlough, we were deposited on my grandfather's farm right outside of Mark, Iowa. And I told my brother, I said, man, I will never find a wife in this town. There's not enough girls there. I said, do you realize that there are girls in this town that have never been out of the county? I said, oh, good, I can't do this. I said, where am I going to find a wife? He says, there's a Bible college in Springfield, Missouri, where Dad went. You go down, there's a lot of girls down there. I said, sign me up. And I went down to Baptist Bible College in Springfield, Missouri. And I didn't go to study the Bible. I went to find a wife, okay? I got in line, and back then you didn't sign up online, you didn't apply in Google. No. You just got in line. They had a boys' line, they had a girls' line. I was in the boys' line, and while I'm waiting to talk to the lady to sign you up, I'm looking at the girls' line. I'm thinking, that's an option. Okay, yeah. Blonde? Okay, yeah, we can do that, And I was just sizing everybody up. I got up there to the front, and the lady says, well, what do you want to sign up for? I says, what you got? And she said, you're a missionary kid. Y'all sign up for the missions. I said, nope, already done that. Give me something else. She says, how about being a pastor? I said, nope, not going to do that. And she says, well, the only thing we've got left is music. And I thought, girls like musicians. And I signed up for the music course. And I was going to be a great singer and popular, and had visions, maybe grow my hair out. That didn't work. So I got in class, and I was looking around, and in my English class, this lady sat beside me. And I took one look, and those eyes, they just melted me. Till today, I'm going to say, 39 years later, they still do that. And I took her out after I got up enough nerve and figured out and worked all of her friends to find out what she liked and everything like that. And then I told her, young people don't ever do this, okay? I told her the first night I was going to marry her, okay? And she thought, you are a loser, But I would not give up. I might not be that smart, but I just don't give up, okay? Until I finally got her and married her. And she said, well, I don't want to marry you. You're going to be a missionary. I said, honey, no. I'm just here to find you. I said, I'm going to be another profession that begins with the letter M, not missionary, millionaire. I said, you hang with me, you will be dripping in jewels. Well, she lives in Manila, she drips. It's hot there, but it's not in jewels. And so she believed me, and we got married. It was after we had our first child. He was on his first birthday, Luke. I began to sit here. Do you remember your first child, your first birthday of the first child? How many remember that? You remember that? Man, I was a new dad. I wanted a wife. I wanted a family. I wanted to go do something, change the world. And I had my son on my knee, and he had cake all over his face. And I started telling him about his great Christian heritage, about his great-great-grandfather that was a Christian, and his grandfather. I said, your grandfather's a great man. He's a missionary. Your grandfather planted a lot of churches and reached a lot of people for Jesus. He's one. He doesn't understand what I'm saying. And as I began to tell him that story, I wondered what he would say about what he would tell his son about me. And it was like, fast forward. And I said, I see him. Now, surely he would name his firstborn after me, so it would be Greg Jr. And he would tell the great story about his great-great-great-grandfather who was a Christian, a faithful Christian, and his great-grandfather who planted a lot of churches. And I thought he would say, yeah, and Grandpa Greg, yeah, he made a lot of money. Now, I'm not opposed to people making a lot of money. I like friends who make a lot of money. I'm just going to tell you that, okay? But at that moment, God began to speak to my heart. And I thought, man, I may be missing what God wants me to do. So I prayed and asked God, I'm not running from you. But if you want me, I need to know it. So deal with my heart. And I opened myself up to God. And God made it very clear that I was to be a missionary. And I had to tell Luann. I was really hoping God was talking to Luann, too. Because I had promised her we weren't going to do this. And so I went to her, and she said, that's not what you promised me. And I said, well, what are we going to do? She said, I guess I married you, so I got to go with you. But I don't know if I like it. And I said, would you pray about it? And she said, yeah. And we went to back to Bible college because, by the way, after I got married, I just flunked out of my classes. I was done. I left without my degree. And, that was my goal. I got it, And we went back to Baptist Bible College West in Denver, Colorado, and I got my degree there. And after a year, she came to me and she said, I just want you to know I prayed about it. I'm all in. And we've been missionaries now. Not as much as you, brother. I admire men like you, but we've been missionaries now for 35 years. And I tell you what, it's been the best ride of my life. Someone asked me, what would you do over again in your life? And this is my answer. I would do it all over again. All of it. Because it's been such a wonderful journey that God has taken me on. If you, and I know I haven't got into the verses, I'm going to get there. Open your Bibles to Luke 5, by the way. But if you are wanting to know of a life that will make an impact forever, first thing you do is surrender to God, to whatever He wants. And then I pray that out of this conference, out of this room, that God would call someone to be a missionary. And I don't think we talk about getting called to being a missionary enough. But God is still calling people. And it's time. It's time for someone else to step up and say, I will do that. Luke chapter 5. We're going to look at verses 17 to 20. And it came to pass on a certain day as he was teaching that there were Pharisees and doctors of the law sitting by, which were come out of every town of Galilee and Judea and Jerusalem, and the power of the Lord was present to heal them. And behold, man brought in a bed a man was taken with a palsy, and they sought means to bring him in and to lay him before him. And when they couldn't find by what way they might bring him in because of the multitude, they went up upon the housetop and let him down through the tiling with his couch into the midst before Jesus. And when he saw their faith, he said unto him, Man, thy sins are forgiven thee. I love the story. I love this story because it's just a story about some people who had a friend who needed to meet Jesus, and they did everything that was necessary to get their friend to Jesus. How many's ever been in traffic? How many have ever been up to Oklahoma City and gotten traffic? Raise your hand. Okay. You know, we have traffic in Manila. We have legendary traffic in Manila, okay? There's 3 traffic death nails. I'll tell you them real quick. First, Friday's a bad day for traffic because everybody who gets paid every week is out buying groceries and they're out on the road. The second day, if the Friday falls on the 15th or the 30th, everybody gets paid every week and everybody gets paid twice a month. They all get on the road and they're buying groceries. The third traffic death nail, if it's Friday, it's the 15th or the 30th, and it rains. It's terrible traffic in Manila. I've gotten into an 8-hour traffic jam. When you have to buy gas in the middle of the traffic jam, that's a long traffic jam, okay? But when we get into traffic, and you've been in traffic going up to Oklahoma City, you know, I mean, what do? When you get on the highway and you get up there and you see the tail lights up there, what goes through? I think we all go through kind of a metamorphosis. I mean, how many remember the last time you were in traffic? I mean, how many of you, when you saw those traffic, you started to get frustrated? How many did that? Yeah, like you're looking at your watch. What time did I leave? I should have left earlier. Oh my goodness, what's going on? And you get all this anger and this frustration that boils up in you. And then you remember you're a Christian. So you turn on the Christian radio station, you know. You remember what the pastor said last week, you know. God will make a way. You know, God parted the Red Sea. Oh, please part the traffic for me. These kind of things that you start saying to yourself. And you try to get through the traffic, and then the traffic doesn't move, and you go back to being frustrated. How many's ever been there? You been there? And then you do the inch move. Have you ever done the inch move? You inch one way, you inch the other way, you're trying to see around the guy. You've done that, you think that's going to get you faster where you're going to go, you know, and then you start looking at the shoulder. How many's looked at the shoulder? You know, and then over your shoulder to see if there's a highway patrolman behind. Am I right? Can I get to there's an exit, just a half of them. Can I get the, you know, and then you just, you know, you get concerned. Maybe it was an accident. Oh man, I hope nobody's hurt, but get the cars off the road. You know, I mean, that kind of stuff. You been there? And then if you still have to go, you can't turn around, there's no way out of it. Maybe you're catching a plane, maybe it's a doctor's appointment, maybe it's some business deal or something like that. You got to be there. There's no way. You finally just settle into what I call the whatever it takes mentality, where you just decide to gut it out. It doesn't matter. And you've got to make it. Can I tell you, if we're going to reach our world for Jesus Christ, we have got to get to the whatever it takes mentality. We have got to get to the place where we'll not be stopped, that we will get to where we're going, and it doesn't matter how hard, how long, how far, how expensive, it doesn't matter what barriers are there, because the world needs the gospel, and we have got to do what it takes to get there. The whatever it takes mentality. These men in this story had that whatever it takes mentality. I mean, these 4 guys that carried their friend to see Jesus, they had it. And I want you to get it too. So I'm going to share with you 4 simple things that I see in this passage. 4 mentalities of this whatever it takes idea that you can apply to your own life. The first one is a one-way mentality. These men, they didn't have a big deal, a big study about it. All they said is, our friend is sick, he's got a palsy, he's paralyzed, his life is ruined, there is no hope for this guy, and we know that Jesus can change his life, and we are going to make a beeline for Jesus, and nothing's going to stop us. They had that one-way mentality. It's the same thing what was said in John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father except by me. I mean, it's still that one way. Can I tell you, I want you to think of the baddest person you know. That's not good English, but it's the truth, okay? The very worst person you know. The person that goes to school with your kids that you don't want your kids to bring home for dinner, okay? The person, the neighbor that is in your neighborhood that you don't want your family to know about. The neighbor that drives you nuts. How many's ever got anybody have a neighbor that drives you nuts? I mean, they don't mow their yard right. I got a neighbor, he keeps his trash cans on the trash bag on the side of his house, drives me, you know, I mean, the worst person, the family member that is going down the wrong path. You got one of those? The family member who, when you're calling around for Thanksgiving and they call you and said, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm going to be there, you put the phone down and you say, oh no, they're coming. How many's got a family member like that? Yeah. If you didn't raise your hand, you know what that means? You probably are that family member, okay? I'm telling you. I'm going to think, I tell you, the worst person you know that's a hopeless situation, it's still true today as was here in Luke chapter 5, that if you can get that person to Jesus, that one way will change his life. In the Philippines, one of our missions, I'm going to talk about that, have a video about our camps. We go after the hardest to reach people. The gangs, the hard to reach people. And I remember my son came to me, Corey, my second son came to me one time, and he said, hey, Dad, you know, he's 6'3", 6'4", he's just a tall guy. And he said, hey, Dad, I want to go to this area, and I want to try to reach these people. I just feel a burden to go this. I said, what area is that? He says, it's called Hilltop. This area near our church in Manila. And I said, Hilltop. I said, Corey, I know that area. He says, yeah. He said, there's a little basketball goal on the street there. I said, Corey, this place is full of gangs. He says, I know. I says, you know, Corey, Mom will not be happy if you go there. And he says, I know, but Dad, I really feel like I need to go there. I want to go. I'll start playing basketball. I'll start a little Bible study. I'll try to reach some people for Jesus. And I said, okay, you can do that, but don't tell Mom. Okay, Mom doesn't need to know everything. And so Corey went off, started this Bible study, started to reach some people. Camp came around, and he got to know some of the gang leaders there. And he comes home to me, and he says, hey, Dad, you know, Hilltop, I said, how are things going? He says, good. Dad, I've got 8 of the gang members ready to go with us to camp. I said, awesome. Man, I was so pumped. First of all, because it was my son that did this. Second, because it was these lost gang members that had no shot at the gospel without this, and they came to camp. Our camp is full of lost people. That's our goal. Our goal is not some kind of Christian goody two-shoes camp. No, this is for lost kids, hardcore lost kids, and these gang members came. And I remember that night at the camp, Pastor Danielle Bondad was preaching one of these awesome, in-your-face gospel messages. You remember those kind of messages? You know, like, you think you're big stuff because you're in a gang. You're not a real man. A real man knows Jesus. Went right after it. Man, it was a great message. And we got down to the end. He offers the invitation. And I'm running the altar down here in the front, and he's giving the invitation. And, man, people started coming forward. Man, we had loads of people, like hundreds of people that came forward that night. It was incredible. And I look back in the center aisle off the right is the gang. And the leader of the gang was with him. Benji was the leader. And I was standing there at the front, and it was nearing the end of the invitation. And I just did a flare prayer. Do you know what a flare prayer is? A flare prayer is when you pray something to God. You don't have time to look all spiritual or anything like that. You just breathe something to God. It was like, just throw it up there, you know. And my flare prayer was, oh, God, save Benji. And I opened my eyes, and I looked up. Benji and 4 of his buddies started out and came down the front. I looked around for a counselor. There was none to be had. He shows up here at the front, and I said, Benji, you and your buddies, you're with me. Come on. And I took him over. We sat down. Had a gang guy on my left, a gang guy on my right. Benji was in front of me. He was flanked by gang guys. And I went through the gospel. And I shared it. I did my very best. Have you ever shared the gospel like your very best? You know, I mean, there's some people that are really important that you don't want to miss it. You know, every verse, every line, every word, you know. And I went through, and I was doing everything. I went through all the deep, and I turned to Benji, and I said, you guys, listen, yeah. So we got down to the end. I turned to the gang guy on my left, and I said, hey, do you understand what I'm saying? He said, yes. I said, do you want to be saved? He said, I do. I said, great. Looked at the other gang guy. How about you? Did you understand? Yeah. Do you want to be saved? He said, yeah. And then it was Benji, the lead of the gang. So I kind of powered up. I kind of leaned into him. You know, Benji, did you understand what I said? He said, yes, sir, I did. I said, do you want to be saved? He leans into me, and he says, you said the same thing that the preacher said. He said, the preacher said that if you needed a new life, you need to give your life to Jesus, and I need a new life. And so he said, the preacher said, if you come down, you could get Jesus in your life, and so I'm here ready to be saved. Yes, I got it. I said, okay, good. I'm glad you got it. And I said, did you get it? All of them said yes. We bowed. We prayed to baptize Benji the next day in the camp pool. Benji was a bad guy, gang leader, but that one way changed his life. Benji got involved in our church, got in our small group. He had to go back to his home province to get back with his wife that he abandoned years ago to get his life straightened out because of that one way. I'm here to tell you one way still works. The lost cause you think you have in your family, get that one way to them. These men had it. Secondly, a my job mentality. They had read the story. It wasn't a big discussion. They just took ownership. Their friend needed Jesus. They said, grab him. Let's go. It wasn't a big deal about what to do. And no. We're going to it's our responsibility. He's our friend, and we're going to go. I'm telling you, we need a bit of that in our world. Isn't that right? I mean, do you really think that you're in your neighborhood because, you picked the best house on the street? I mean, could have God been up in heaven saying, I need a Christian in this neighborhood, so I'm going to open up this house for this guy and his wife, and I'm going to make sure the kitchen is the right size, and the oven's on this side, and they got the nice deck for the guy, place for his tools in the garage. That maybe God orchestrated all of that, and maybe you thought you picked your place to live, but in fact, God picked your place to live and put you there so that you could be a lighthouse in that community. And that it's your job to reach everybody in that place. Maybe the job you got because you applied, you think you got it because you're smart and everything like that, and I'm sure you got it because of that, but could God have had a hand in it? And maybe you're in that place where you're working, and you have that person you work with that irritates you to death, maybe that intentionally cusses around you or treats you bad, that boss that you don't like. Anybody got a boss like that, and you're praying that God will kick him out of the company, when in fact maybe God has you there because it's your job to get the gospel to that person. My job. Acts 1:8 says, you shall receive power when the Holy Ghost has come upon you. You shall be witnesses of me in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and the uttermost parts of the earth. It's my job to reach the world. In Manila, our main church is next to a very large high school, the largest high school on the planet. When we moved there, called the Rizal High School, 42,000 teenagers in one high school. That's a bunch of hormonally imbalanced people all in one place, I'm going to tell you. Teenagers out the wazoo. And our church got moved to this location. It was the only place we could rent, could afford. And I did not want to be there. I was following God kicking and screaming. And then I realized that there was this high school, and there was no ministry reaching them. And I thought, man, surely God is not up in heaven saying, whoa, it's a big high school. What's going on there? Maybe God had a plan. And maybe God brought us there so that we could reach these young people. And so we started a camp. We started a camp that would reach, there were some young people we couldn't get to come to church. These are the gang kids, alcoholic kids, the addicted kids, the kids that nobody wanted, the kids, the usual suspect kids, the kids that would leave the school and they would go to the crack houses and they would do things that were just destroying them. Nobody wanted them. We couldn't get them to come to church. It was any kids that you invite them to come to church, they kind of laugh at you, sneer at you, those kind of kids. We thought maybe we could have a camp that did one thing. All it did was the gospel. And we would fill the camp with lost kids. So we started the camp. The first year, this has been 20 years ago, it was a big experiment. We were going to fill up the camp with 80% of lost kids that had never been in church. And our goal was to take 150 kids to camp. And I needed $20 a kid to get them into camp. I needed $3,000. And so I didn't have the money. So I had to call the United States. I had to call pastors. Now, every missionary, I'm going to give you the inside track. Don't tell anybody. But this is the inside track of missionaries. All missionaries have a list of soft-hearted pastors. Am I right? You know who to call. You do. And you knew if I called this guy, he would give me money, okay? Because he loves people. So I had my list of 10 churches I was going to call, ask everyone for $300. And I had one guy, I was telling him what we're doing. He says, Greg, I'm so confused. I don't even know what you're doing, but I love you. I love your work. I'm going to give you $200 if you let me off the phone. And I said, can't do it. It's got to be $300. He says, are you negotiating with me for some more? I said, it's for the young people. Come on. You got an extra 100. Give me 100 more, 300, and I'll let you go. He gave it to me. I know that was shameless, okay? But it was for the young people, I'm going to tell you. By the way, I'm putting Pastor Steve on my list, by the way. So you get ready. He's going to get up, and he said, that missionary called me. Get ready, okay. I got my $3,000, and we went off. We started to camp. Our goal was to take 150 kids to camp. The 80% of them were to be lost. That was our goal. And we took 176 kids to camp. 79 got saved. We were blown away. We thought maybe God could do more. The next year, we decided to set our goal for 500. I called my pastor again, hit him up again. And I put together the money. We took 570 kids the next year to camp, had 249 saved. The next year, we thought we'd take more, so we set our goal for 1,000. We took 1,700 kids the third year to camp, saw 840 of them saved. The year after that, we took 2,700 kids. We learned some things. We learned that there is more than 1 week in the summer. I don't know if you know that. You could have more than one camp. And so we started doing more camps, and we went from 2,700 to 5,400 kids. We had over 2,000 kids saved. We were having trouble, following them up and discipling them. And we were getting kids out of places we didn't have any church. We had to take a church planter in there because we had so many kids saved in the area to start a church in that area. I mean, it was going crazy. We lost control. The Rawlings Foundation got involved with us, and they said, hey, how many kids can you do? Well, we can do more. We went to 10,000 kids in 1 year. We went to 25,000 kids. I'm going to tell you, it's crazy, all right? We learned that you could get saved in less than 5 days. I don't know if you know that. You can get saved when you hear the gospel, okay? And so we decided to shorten the camp. We also learned that that lost kids are not in church on Sunday. Did you know that? They don't go to church. And so we started the camps on Sunday. We would take kids to camp Sunday. They would get there Sunday afternoon. Monday, Tuesday, at Tuesday noon, we would send 1,200 kids home. We would bus up another 1,200 kids to camp. You had 3 hours to, take a break, do your laundry. And then you did another camp from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday at noon, we'd send 1,200 kids back. We'd bus in another 1,200 kids. You had 3 hours to take a nap on that day. And then you went Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We were doing 3 camps a week. We were seeing kids saved, churches changed. It was blowing our mind. We ended up taking over 100,000 kids a year to camp. We then took it to other countries by God's grace. This past year was our best year. I thank the Lord for the Rawlings Foundation, other businessmen, other churches that contributed to this and made it able to get the gospel. I brought a quick video. You want to see a video of camp? I got a quick video, just a short one, about camp in Manila last year, if we'll play that video. We had over 93,000 people saved last year through the camps in 5 different countries. Now, I want to say this. It's not just me. I have an incredible team of committed people. Some American missionaries that partner with us and many, many Filipinos that partner with us and make this happen. We held over 112 camps last year, all year long. And then we worked so hard to follow them up, get them into churches, get them discipled. By the way, can I say this to Bible Baptist Church here in Chickasha? You had a part in every one of those people saved. You had a part because you had a part in our ministry. That's why you have a missions conference. It would have never happened if you hadn't given, if you hadn't kept a missionary on the field. Why did that happen? Also, it's because some people in Metro Manila had a my job mentality. These men not only had a one-way mentality, a my job mentality, but they had an overcomer mentality. I mean, read the story. They showed up at the house. There was too many people there. Well, I had another option. One option was, Jesus is too busy today. Let's check his website, find out where he is tomorrow, you know. They could have just backed off. I mean, aren't we like that? I mean, we don't like crowds, am I right? Social distancing is really not a big deal to us. We don't mind that. You want to make someone nervous? Scoot over. That's what all you have to do right now. You know, I mean, we don't, you know, we like our space. They looked at this, I mean, and they said, what are we going to do? We can't get him in there. He needs to get this. We've got to get him to Jesus. It's our job. They crawled up on the roof. They tear the roof apart, and they lower their friend in front of Jesus. That's an overcomer mentality. Can I just get a little personal a minute? I think we Christians are a little bit too soft. I mean, we get taken out of the game too early. Have you ever had a friend tell you, listen, I'll be your friend, listen, you know, it's okay, we'll get along, but I don't talk about politics and religion. And someone says that to you and you're like, okay, really? You are willing to let your friend never hear the gospel because they simply say, I don't want to talk about that. I'm sorry, it doesn't do that for me. Guy says that to me, you know what I say? Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to be a different kind of friend because I'm going to talk to you about Jesus. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I'm still going to come after you, you know. I mean, I've witnessed to people for years. I've not stopped. I even had a guy over, a banker. He's a bank manager. I've been witnessing to him now for 8 years. He has not turned. He's a hard case, you know. And so I had him over dinner. I put the plan of salvation under the plate for dinner so that when we took the plate away for dessert, there it is. And we took the plate away. It's there, the plan of salvation. And he looks at me and he goes, really? I said, come on. I'm a pastor. That's my job. You know, when I come to the bank, you talk to me about banking. You come to my house, I'm going to talk to you about Jesus. That's my job. Don't give it back to me. I'm going to tell you. You know, and I witnessed to him. Almost got him to turn. He didn't do it. I tell you what, Satan is so devious, he takes us out of the game so early. I mean, you come to church, I mean, how many, don't lie to me, okay? Tell me the truth. How many of you have ever had a fight with your wife or your husband on the way to church? You ever, look, put your hand up. And when you get to the driveway down here, this is what happens. You get to the driveway, you tell me if I'm wrong. And you're like, come on, behave, come on, we're at church, come on, you know. And you get out of the car, you've been mouthy to each other all the way there. You get out and someone greets you at the door. How you doing? Man, it's great. Life's, yeah, it's all good. You know, you just were cutting their head off, you know. Why does that happen? I mean, those of you who are parents, have you ever noticed that your kids are the most difficult to get out of bed on Sunday morning? I don't know I don't know what happened. They turn into little demons on Sunday morning, you know. And it's you know what that is? That's the devil trying to stop you and ruin you before you get to church. And you're all ticked and you're all mad. You come in, the preacher's not good enough, music's too loud, too soft, too fast, too slow. You know, it don't really matter. And it's not about the music and the sermon. It's about your heart. The devil has gotten the best of you. It's time that we ought to say, you know what, devil? You're not hitting my button today. I'm in charge, and I'm going to tell someone about Jesus. Overcomer mentality. Don't get taken out of the game. The game is too important. We took our team to Pakistan. Had a guy come to our church in Manila, Pakistani fella, studied under my dad. He said, I heard about your camps, Greg. I said, yeah. He says, can you bring your camps to Pakistan? I said, no. You know. And he goes, no. I said, it's not going to work in Pakistan. Yeah, they're Muslim over there. It's not going to work. No. We don't really know anything about Pakistan. He says, no, I think it'll work. Young people are young people. I think you can bring your camp to Pakistan. We work. I said, no. He said, you're afraid. I said, I am not afraid. No. Is it safe there? You know, I mean, He goes, why are you asking me this question? I said, I've got to tell my wife something. I mean, what do? You're going to wake up one day, hey, honey, I'll be in Pakistan. You know, I mean, He said, well, let me ask you a question. I says, go ahead. He says, are you in God's will? Now, come on. That's like the nuclear question. What are you going to say? No, I'm totally out of God's will. I mean, come on. I said, of course I'm in God's will. He says, why don't you quit being afraid and why don't you pray about it? Oh. Yeah, anybody have people like that in your life? I mean, you're like, come on. Oh, I can't do it. You know, he was right. I did pray about it, but the truth is, I didn't need to pray about it. God opened the door. I should have just gone through the door. So we went to Pakistan. We couldn't get our visas. It's held up at the Pakistani embassy. Applied, working on it months. Finally, our office calls me up and says, hey, listen, nobody can take the passports back down to the Pakistani embassy. We'll look at it one more time. Can you do that? Now, going across Manila is not like going across Chickasha, okay? I mean, going across Manila is 2 hours long. And I said, okay, I'll get them, I'll take them. So I made the trek all the way downtown to the building, and I'm standing there at the elevator. I've got a stack of 5 passports in my hand to be looked at again by the Pakistani embassy. As I'm standing there in the afternoon, about 2:30 in the afternoon, at the back door of the building I'm at, black SUV pulls up. Guys get out, open the door. Some guy in a suit gets out. Looks Pakistani to me, but I didn't know who he was. And it's just he and I waiting for the elevator. The elevator opens up. We get in. He turns to me. He was near the buttons, and he says, "Sir, what floor?" I said, "It'd be on. I'm going 5th floor." He says, "That's the Pakistan embassy." I said, "Yeah, that's where I'm going." And he says, "No, we have the whole floor. That's all that's on the Pakistan on the floor." I said, "Yes, sir. I'm going to the Pakistani embassy." I says, "Why? Do you work there?" He says, "I'm the ambassador." Another flare prayer. Okay. This one was, God, slow the elevator down. Okay. And I said, oh. He says, why? I said, well, I'm applying for visas to Pakistan. He says, why? Do you have business there? I says, won't know until I get there. And he says, well, what do you do? I says, well, we help young people. And he says, oh, you are that group. I said, yes, sir. We're probably that group, whatever that group is. See, the letter that was sent to the embassy was from the Bible Baptist Church of Azad, Kashmir, Pakistan, inviting Dr. Greg Lyons to come and do evangelistic meetings with young people in Pakistan. And when I got the letter, I said, I can't go to the embassy with that. They'll laugh me out of the room. Pastor Irfan said, doesn't matter, you take it down there. So the ambassador and I were talking on the elevator. Door opens up. I stand there with him a moment. And I said, sir, we're not going to cause any trouble in your country. I said, we're going to help some young people get hope for their life. I said, I would really appreciate it if you would consider and grant our visas. He said, I can't promise you, Mr. Lyons. He said, but I'll think about it. I said, okay, fair enough. Drop off my passports. The next day, 5 visas stamped in the passport. You know what is stamped in there? Short missionary visa. Never happens that way. We went in. We've gone in every year for the past 9 years. This past year, we took 22,000 Pakistani young people to our camps in Pakistan and saw 11,000 saved because some people had an overcomer mentality. The last one, one-way mentality, my job mentality. Overcomer mentality, and the reward mentality. Philippians 3:14 says, I press toward the goal for the high calling. Paul was saying, I have a goal. I know where I'm going. These men, when they brought their friend to Jesus, they knew that Jesus would heal him. How do you know that? It says it. When Jesus saw their faith, whose faith? The faith of the men who brought their friend. When Jesus saw these men understood the end game. I mean, read this. They had no plan to get him up. They dropped him down in there. They fully expected him to walk out of there. Fully expected him. Jesus acknowledged that. Sometimes I think we play the game, we forget the end game. We're troubled with all this stuff that's going on. Let's be honest, this COVID stuff. But I'm going to tell you, God's not troubled. I'm just going to tell you. He's really not worried. That it's all part of his plan. There's been plagues in the past. Read about them in the Bible. They were all designed to bring people to a greater awareness of God. All of them. That's what's going on. I'm not worried about it. Now, I'm not a fool. I'm not going to expose myself intentionally, but I'm not going to be weirded out about it. I'm going to trust God. Because I know the end game. The end game is that the gospel will be preached to every tribe and every nation. And then the end will come. It's not a question whether missions will be successful. I'm telling you, missions will be successful. You know what the question is? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to have a part in it? How much are you going to give? Are you going to go? I mean, when you get to heaven, God's not going to ask you how much money you had in the bank. He's not going to ask you if you got that new TV, 4D, if you, the new phone. No, you're not going to show that off to Jesus. God's going to ask you one thing. What did you do for the kingdom? And when you look at your finances and you decide where you're investing, what are you investing in the kingdom that will bring exponential return? The reward mentality. When you know the end game, you play the game differently. Am I right? You ever played ping pong with your kids or chess or whatever? You know you're going to beat them, right? So you're playing behind your back. You're doing all these kind of things. You're not worried because you know the end game. Why are we so worried about the end game? It's already written out for us. And we're going to be successful. It's just a matter of whether we're going to have that whatever it takes mentality to make it happen. I want to challenge you. If you don't have that whatever it takes mentality, if you have been taken out of the witnessing game, of the giving game, of the missions game, because of whatever, it's time to get back in. It's time to say, I'm in. I want a piece of that action. I'll do whatever it takes. I can't tell you that giving to missions is going to make your life easier. It probably will not. I can't tell you that witnessing to a friend that every time they're going to accept. They probably, I've had people reject me more than not. But I can tell you that it's so important to keep doing it, and that I'm not going to stop. We're going to plant another church. We're going to reach another person. We're going to make something happen for the gospel of Jesus Christ. Would you bow your heads for just a minute? Maybe you're here tonight. And I would assume if you're here on a Wednesday night that you're here because you are at some level of commitment, or you wouldn't be here. But I think though we are at some level of commitment, it's so easy to become a little bit lax, a little bit just passive. Or there's maybe someone here that has allowed the cares of this world, relationships that you've had, problems that you're facing to kind of diminish your intensity for the gospel. Can I ask you